Former Abercrombie and Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries has been arrested in Florida on charges of sex trafficking and prostitution, involving more than 24 alleged victims. He's accused of trafficking men from around the world, using the brand Abercrombie and Fitch to lure them to sex parties. Now, I know you've heard the details of this already. There's something I want to focus in on because many of you follow me for certain cases. And I think this is really important. According to prosecutors, they say Jeffries used his status, his power, to prey on young, innocent victims. They allegedly made these young men sign NDAs, inject them with drugs, and perform sexual acts. Jeffries isn't the only one facing charges. His longtime partner Matthew Smith and James Jacobson are also facing charges. Now, like I said, many of you know what cases I'm following. I want you to listen from authorities themselves, what they have to say.
Powerful individuals for too long have trafficked and abused for their own sexual pleasure young people with few resources in a dream of securing a successful career in fashion or entertainment. So here's what's alleged in the indictment. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him. Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith. The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes in the Hamptons, in New York City, or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's, for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial sex. But beyond simply hiring men for sex, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own sexual gratification. They caused the men to believe that attending these sex events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers. Smith and Jeffries employed a secret staff to operate these sex events. The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements and handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain the secrecy of these events. The defendants caused the men to believe that not complying with requests for certain acts, sex acts, during the events could harm their careers. The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events. And they required the presence of staff during the sexual activity and ensured that the men did not leave the sex events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over. As alleged in the indictment, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson didn't just carry this activity on for a couple of occasions. Their sex trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015. During that period, the defendants hired dozens of men and transported them to New York and around the globe. They spent millions of dollars on a massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy. This included hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash for commercial sex, prolific amounts of money for staff to run the sex events, money for domestic travel, international travel, hotel rooms, services from a security company, and Jacobson's salary, among other things. Now, this investigation remains ongoing. Although there are 15 John Does identified as victims in this indictment, this interstate prostitution venture encompassed dozens and dozens of men. And I encourage anyone with information about this case, including anyone who was a victim of the defendant's alleged crimes, to contact the FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI.
And here is something else. You know what captured the attention of authorities? A documentary from 2022.
You know that you're getting close
when you're hit with the smell of Abercrombie.
The nightclub beats and bare-chested guys.
It was such a pop culture phenomenon. It was the all-American look, and I considered myself an all-American girl.
And because of that documentary, authorities began to investigate. So don't let anybody tell you that social media, that creative documentaries, journalists who use their creativity, who use their skills to bring attention to stories from around the world, don't let them convince you that those people don't have a place in this world, that people like myself don't have a place in justice, because they do. Social media can be dangerous, but it is a powerful tool when used appropriately. And I have a message for victims who signed NDAs. That NDA doesn't prevent you from talking to authorities. That NDA doesn't prevent you from seeking justice. That NDA is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's not. It's just not.
The message from today's prosecution is clear. Sexually exploiting vulnerable human beings is a crime, and doing so by dangling dreams of a future in fashion or modeling or any other business is no different. My office and our law enforcement partners will always prioritize standing up for victims, no matter their gender and no matter how powerful the wrongdoers think they are. We will hold them to account.